Hello, everyone. It's Mr. Goals for another attempt to do Screencastify and Google Slides. Um, right now, we'll be talking about poetic devices. I know that the Justin Trudeau Speaking Moistly, is it really poetry or not, is due Friday, as well as trying to figure out metaphors and similes with Katy Perry's fireworks. So, first slide. Speaking Moistly, why did I say that? Again, if you want to hear this beautiful crafted video, go for it. Here's the link, or you can definitely find it on YouTube. Can anything be poetry? Possibly, potentially, yes. So again, you have some links here, which we're not going to necessarily go through. There's not enough time, but take it out. Check it out. There is one that says it's going to be May. The Duck Song. Enter Sandman by Metal Trump. These are all jokes people put up on YouTube, but can they be poetry? Could be. If you look at the little picture there with a little bit of poem by Tracy Drain, it says, rusty red surface, cratered, layered, rocky plains, someday we'll touch Mars. And if you see that, you can actually say that could be a poem because it has alliteration. Rusty, red, rocky. R, R, R. Remember the consonant sound that goes throughout a line or two lines. So yeah, anything could be poetry. Check it out. Poetic devices. We are dealing with just metaphors and similes on this particular lesson, but there's a whole bunch of examples. You have personification, you have alliteration, you have hyperbole, and yes, Dr. Seuss is so familiar with poetry, and so is the rappers that you love, Eminem, even Drake, you name it, there is a whole bunch of use of poetic devices everywhere, especially in music that you hear every day. All right, so here you go. Music loves poetry. There's Taylor Swift and there's Harry Styles from One Direction. I hope some of you know who Harry Styles is, and it's pretty freaky that Mr. Goals knows, but he does know. Music loves poetry. Simile, words like knives, words like nails on chalkboard. Okay, similes are like metaphors, the comparison of two things, but the only difference is that simile uses things like or as when you're comparing two items or two things. So she's comparing words like knives, words like nails on a chalkboard. But what do they actually mean? So Taylor is saying that someone's words are so painful and would hurt her just like weapons would. Also, hearing those words would make her flinch and jumpy. Think about nails on a chalkboard. Metaphor, there's Harry Styles' song, You're My Kryptonite. A metaphor doesn't use like or as, but it's also a comparison of two things or two items. Harry Styles is saying that the girl he likes makes him feel very weak. He is so powerless. She is his kryptonite. Think of Superman, for those who know. Shawn Mendes also loves poetry, and here's examples of hyperboles. You watch me bleed until I can't breathe. I'm shaking, falling onto my knees, and now that I'm without your kisses, I'll be needing stitches. Shawn is exaggerating because his love interest hurt him so much that he needs stitches to heal his broken heart. That is an example of an exaggeration. Hyperboles are an exaggeration. All right. And boys and girls, you have examples of this everywhere. Similes, you're like a paper bag. Yes, metaphors. Your cheeks are rosy red. Metaphors. You are a firework, which you'll find out from Katy Perry. Metaphors and similes and hyperboles are all over social media, all over our lives. Our parents may even say it to you all the time. You're a hurricane in hockey comparison to a hurricane. You run like the wind, for those of you who are really fast. Okay. Back to Justin Trudeau. For those who said it wasn't poetry, you're wrong. It actually could be poetry because it has poetic devices. And I think one or two students did say alliteration, and they are correct. These are the things we know keep 2 meters apart. It has alliteration. These things, two. Consonant sound throughout a line or two. Okay, so yes, it is poetry, or can be considered poetry, because it has at least one poetic device. Continue to pour JT. It also has a rhyme. What have I heard from medical experts? Heard experts. Yeah, it's a stretch, but it is kind of like a rhyme. Yeah, just Justin Trudeau. I know poetry and me make a nice couple. But poetry should also have a meaning. And when you look at the previous examples, like It's Going to Be May or the Duck Song or Metal Trump, do those things actually have a meaning? So most poetry actually does have a meaning. So Trudeau's song was a joke, but a lot of songs and poems have a meaning. Now let's look at Katy Perry's song, Firework. Well, this was kind of your homework, so I'm kind of giving you answers this way so you can kind of compare with what you did. Firework. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Do you ever feel so paper thin, like a house of cards, one blowing from caving in? Do you ever feel already buried deep? Excuse me, guys. You just got to ignite the light and let it shine. You own the night like the 4th of July, because baby, you're a firework. Come on, show them what you're worth. Now, I just chose parts of the song that actually can show you where the similes and the metaphors are. So, what are poetic devices? Where are the poetic devices? There are similes. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag, like a house of cards, like the 4th of July? This is all you need to do, guys, to get a really good grade when I eventually give you more work on this next week. So you find the similes, you write them down. Part 1 is done. What are they comparing? Well, you ever feel like a plastic bag means you're comparing yourself to a plastic bag. And what does this mean? It means that you're floating in the air, aimlessly, no direction. So think about what a plastic bag does in the air. It just floats, goes nowhere. When it says like a house of cards, it means you are very fragile and you can fall apart. Like the 4th of July. Well, 4th of July is kind of like our Canada Day on July the 1st. It's the American birthday on July the 4th. It's called Independence Day. And yet things can get better and you can glow and shine like fireworks on Canada Day or Independence Day in the United States. So they're comparing one thing to another and they're trying to tell you what the actual meaning can be. Metaphors. Feel so paper thin, you're a firework. So again, they're not using like or as, but there still is a comparison. Feeling so paper thin means people can see how sad you are. You are paper thin means that the paper is almost see-through. Thus, people can see how sad you really are. Firework means you have so much talent, skill, and smarts. You should show your family and friends who you really are. Let everyone see the real you, just like a firework. Okay, that is the comparison. So what does this song and metaphor actually, let me rephrase that. What do the similes and metaphors mean in the song? So what does this actually mean when you hear it? Well, here you go. The song talks about revealing your true self to the world instead of keeping it a secret. It tells us not to be afraid of what we have and who we really are, but to be proud of it. Don't be afraid to express who you really are in the inside and not letting your flaws stop you from having a great life. The song is basically about pride in oneself and letting your true colors show without worrying about what other people think of you. Now, I'm obviously like to talk a lot and I like to write a lot, but the idea here is be yourself. Don't be afraid. I know it's sometimes hard to be different from everyone else, but shine, show who you are. Don't be scared. Don't, hide underneath a tree or underneath a rock. Just be yourself. Show the world who you truly are. That's the example. And I think in the beginning, it talks about how people can be sad and you feel like you're not like everyone else. But at the end of the day, who cares? Shine, be different, be who you are. No one should be embarrassed about that. That's the actual meaning behind it. And yeah, that's Katy Perry. And there she is. Yo, you are a firework. The end, boys and girls. So if there are any questions, let me know. I hope this actually helped a little bit as to what you need to do. Next week, we will look at, yes, Taylor Swift and poetry. If I can find some really good ones, maybe from Drake or Eminem, but they have to be absolutely appropriate. But I know Taylor is very appropriate. And I think Nicholas talked about Shel Silverstein. So yeah, we'll look at those pieces of poetry next week before you do your own poetry. Yo, Mr. Goals, trying to make learning fun for you guys. We'll see how next week goes and the week after that. Again, I miss all of you. Stay strong, be safe, and do your homework. Ciao.